The American Revolution did not occur in a political vacuum. As soon as the independence was announced, the colonies, now states, have to organize themselves politically, and so we are going to see the rise of constitutions. In fact, within a year of the Declaration of Independence, we have 10 of the states have constitutions. Now, we've talked about constitutions before, and we've talked about how the American constitutions are going to be written down in order to limit the powers of the government, the codification of the powers of government, and the rights of citizenship that are going to function as the fundamental law to which all of our public authority is held accountable. Compare that with English constitutionalism, as we have seen. It's organic. It's basically the precedents, statutes, and customs of the English system. The result is the fact that a monarch or parliament can basically do whatever it wants anytime he, she, or it wants to, and so it's very easy to get around that. Another major difference between the United States and England is going to be when it comes to sovereignty. Sovereignty, it basically means power. Okay, if you're or rule, if you're the sovereign of a nation, you are going to be the ruler of a nation, and so. Sovereign, Americans are going to have a very different idea about sovereignty than the British. The British believe that sovereignty must reside in one spot, either the king or in Parliament. That's it. The United States says, no, 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 no. You don't need to. You could share sovereignty. In fact, we can have what's known as popular sovereignty, and this is the first time that we hear about this concept, and we're going to hear about it again eventually later down the road. So, what's popular sovereignty? Well, you have to remember, popular is not. It means of the people. It doesn't mean like how many Facebook friends you have that you actually know, or how many Twitter followers you have on your account. That's not the type of popular I'm talking about. I'm talking about regarding the people. Popular sovereignty, the rule of the people. Americans are going to believe that sovereignty is going to be given to the people, and the people are going to be the sovereigns, and they are going to make the choices in terms of who their leaders are going to be. Therefore, we have popular sovereignty in this nation. So between 1776 and 1780, the United States is going to debate over what kind of government the United States will be. They agreed that there's going to be the people of the Republic are going to be their own governors. And so we are going to have a republic. And we talked about what a republic is during this time period. So each state is going to have its own constitution, and each state is going to vary wildly about how they're going to accomplish this republicanism. Even today, for example, we in Nebraska they have a one-house legislature, whereas every other state has two, but each state's constitution and its political makeup and its governmental makeup is going to be different from another in sometimes minute ways. But nonetheless, we have some norms when it comes to these state constitutions. For example, there are going to be annual elections for the governors, and governors are going to be impeachable. They're going to have term limits. And these elections are also going to discourage patronage, basically the power to appoint executive and judicial officials. We're going to see the rise of more powerful legislatures, and they are going to be the focal point of government. The assemblies were at the forefront of the popular opposition to British authority. They were regarded as the most trustworthy defenders of American freedom during the crisis that leads up to the American Revolution. And so it's going to be the legislatures that are going to particularly give power to appoint officials and oversee military and financial matters. Now, how can the legislature reflect even more of the popular will? Well, there are a number of ways. Number one, you can increase the number of voters that are going to be eligible to vote in these legislative elections. How? Well, reduce the property requirements for both office holding and voting. Have annual elections. Opinions change every year. I mean, we look at the differences in opinions between 2012 and 2016, for example. In every election, even though they might have similar results, they might have similar people, they definitely have different dynamics. Increase the number of seats within the legislature. Certainly a good way to embody the popular will. No longer will one person be in charge of a large area. Now you can have several people represent a more specific area. Representation is also going to be proportional to the distribution of its population. All right, and of course, the upper house is going to be independent of the executive and open to popular election. Now, this is not to say that legislatures are the way to go and that they are certainly going to be trustworthy when it comes to protecting American liberty. I said that they were the most trusted, not that they were absolutely trusted. They understood that legislatures could be as tyrannical as monarchs themselves or as governors. So what we are going to see then is we're going to see Bill of Rights being shown, being approved. Basically, limit on the power of the state governments over what it can do, what it can't do, particularly when it comes to civil rights. We'll talk more about a Bill of Rights when it comes to the American Constitution. And other ways in order to make sure that power is not concentrated in an individual or a small group of individuals is the notion of separation of powers. And we definitely have to thank John Adams for this concept. By 1776, John Adams is saying power cannot be concentrated in one branch. It needs to be split. You need to have a legislative branch, an executive branch, or a judicial branch. It's kind of like at the end, nearing the end of Star Wars Episode 3, when they're trying, when Chancellor Palpatine shows up to be the Sith Lord, and the Jedi are basically saying, we can't, this guy's too dangerous to be alive. Because the fact that he controls the Senate and he controls the courts. John Adams is trying to prevent this at Emperor Palpatine's situation. So, the legislature is going to only have the power to make the laws. The executive branch is going to be the branch that can only execute the laws, enforce the laws. And the judicial branch is going to be the one that interprets the laws. So let's give an example. Let's say, for example, it is illegal to wear red shirts. Well, so the legislative branch makes that law, and then it's going to move to the enforcement phase of the law. And so you're walking around with a red shirt, somebody's going to find you, and you're going to be arrested. And of course, you are going to be arrested only legally by members of the executive branch. So the police, law enforcement, for example, they are going to arrest you, and then your actions are going to be interpreted in terms of how if it complies or violates the law by a court, by the judicial branch. And so this is how it's supposed to work, so that no one institution has all three powers. It's all separated to make government as weak as possible. Now, government is supposed to also promote the happiness of its people. It's supposed to be based on virtue. And so we as citizens also have a responsibility. We're supposed to follow the law. We're supposed to be responsible citizens. But we're also supposed to be educated. We are supposed to inform ourselves of what's going on in our world, so that when we go to the elections every 1, 2, 4 years, we're not just pulling the lever because the guy has a funny name or because you like how this person dresses. Rather, your vote, according to this whole system, is reliant on your educated votes. Not just, well, I voted Republican all my life and I'm going, and I'm just going to do it because I've been a Republican all my life. No, you need to research all of the candidates in order to make the right decision that you think, or to make the decision you think is right. So sometimes you might vote Republican, sometimes you might vote Democrat. So you need, so it's John Adams is warning us that to make a republic be effective and to survive, an educated populace needs to be created, and this is one of the things that a government is supposed to promote.